You just let this childlike part of you channel whatever voices and visions come through and onto the page. If one of those characters wants to say, well, so what, Mr. Poopy Pants? You let her. No one is going to see it. If the kid wants to get into a really sentimental, weepy, emotional territory, you let him. Just get it all down on the paper, because there may be something great in those 6 crazy pages that you would never have gotten to by any more rational grown-up means. There may be something in the very last line of the very last paragraph on page 6 that you love. That is so beautiful or wild that you now know what you're supposed to be writing about, more or less, or in what direction you might go. But there's no way to get to this without first getting through the first 5.5 pages. I used to write food reviews for California Magazine before it folded. My writing food reviews had nothing to do with the magazine folding, although every single review did cause a couple of canceled subscriptions. Some readers took umbrage to my comparing mounds of vegetable puree with various ex-presidents' brains. These reviews always took 2 days to write. First, I'd go to a restaurant several times with a few opinionated, articulate friends in tow. I'd sit there writing down everything anyone said that was at all interesting or funny. Then, on the following Monday, I'd sit down at my desk with my notes and try to write a review. Even after I'd been doing this for years, panic would set in. I'd try to write a lead, but instead I'd write a couple of dreadful sentences, X them out, try again, X everything out, then feel despair and worry settle on my chest like an X-ray apron. It's over, I'd think calmly. I'm not going to be able to get the magic to work this time. I'm ruined. I'm through. I'm toast. Maybe I think I can get my old job back as a clerk typist, but probably not. I'd get up and study my teeth in the mirror for a while. Then I'd stop, remember to breathe, make a few phone calls, hit the kitchen, and chow down. Eventually, I'd go back and sit down at my desk and sigh for the next 10 minutes. Finally, I would pick up my 1-inch picture frame, stare into it for the answer, and every time the answer would come, all I had to do was write a really shitty first draft, say the opening paragraph, and nobody was going to see it. So I'd start writing without reining myself in. It was almost just typing, just making my fingers move, and the writing would be terrible. I'd write a lead paragraph that was a whole page, even though the entire review could only be 3 pages long, and then I'd start writing up descriptions of the food, 1 dish at a time. And the critics would be sitting on my shoulders commenting like cartoon characters. They'd be pretending to snore or rolling their eyes at me at my overwrought descriptions, no matter how hard I tried to tone those descriptions down, no matter how conscious I was of what a friend said to me gently in my early days of restaurant reviewing. Annie, she said, it is just a piece of chicken. It is just a bit of cake. But because by then I had been writing for so long, I would eventually let myself trust the process, sort of, more or less. I'd write a first draft that was maybe twice as long as it should be, with a self-indulgent and boring beginning, stupefying descriptions of the meal, lots of quotes from my black-humored friends that made them sound more like the Manson girls than food lovers, and no ending to speak of. The whole thing would be so long and incoherent and hideous that for the rest of the day I'd obsessed about getting creamed by a car before I could write a decent second draft. I'd worry that people would read what I'd written and believe that the accident had really been a suicide, and that I'd panicked because my talent was waning and my mind was shot. The next day, though, I'd sit down, go through it all with a colored pen, take out everything I possibly could, find a new lead somewhere on the second page, figure out a kicky place to end it, and then write a second draft. It always turned out fine, sometimes even funny and weird and helpful. I'd go over it one more time and mail it in. Then, a month later, when it was time for another review, the whole process would start again, complete with the fears that people would find my first draft before I could rewrite it. Almost all good writing begins with terrible first efforts. You need to start somewhere. Start by getting something, anything, down on paper. A friend of mine says that the first draft is the down draft. You just get it down. The second draft is the up draft. You fix it up. You try to say what you have to say more accurately. And the third draft is the dental draft, where you check every tooth to see if it's loose or cramped or decayed or even, God help us, healthy. What I've learned to do when I sit down to work on a shitty first draft is to quiet the voices in my head. First, there's the vinegar-lipped reader lady who sits primly, well, that's not interesting, is it? And then there's the emaciated German male who writes these Orwellian memos detailing your thought crimes. And there are your parents, agonizing over your lack of loyalty and discretion. And then there's William Burroughs dozing off or shooting up because he finds you as bold and articulate as a houseplant. And so on. And there are also the dogs. Let's not forget the dogs. The dogs in their pen who will surely hurtle and snarl their way out if you ever stop writing, because writing is, for some of us, the latch that keeps the door of the pen closed, keeping those crazy, ravenous dogs contained. Quieting these voices is at least half the battle I fight daily. But this is better than it used to be. It used to be 87% of the time. Left to its own devices, my mind spends much of its time having conversations with people who aren't there. I walk along defending myself to people, or exchanging repartee with them, or rationalizing my behavior, or seducing them with gossip, or pretending I'm on their TV talk show, or whatever. I speed or run an aging yellow light and don't come to a full stop, and 1 nanosecond later am explaining to imaginary cops exactly why I had to do what I did, or insisting that I did not in fact do it. I happened to mention this to a hypnotist I saw many years ago, and he looked at me very nicely. I thought he was feeling around on the floor for the silent alarm button, but then he gave me the following exercise, which I still use to this day. Close your eyes and get quiet for a minute until the chatter starts up. Then isolate one of the voices and imagine the person speaking as a mouse. Pick it up by the tail and drop it into a mason jar. Then isolate another voice, pick it up by the tail, drop it in the jar, and so on. Drop in any high-maintenance parental units, drop in any contractors, lawyers, colleagues, children, anyone who is whining in your head. Then put the lid on and watch all these mouse people clawing at the glass, jabbering away, trying to make you feel like shit because you won't do what they want, won't give them more money, won't be more successful, won't see them more often. Then imagine that there is a volume control button on that bottle. Turn it all the way up for a minute and listen to the stream of angry, neglected, guilt-mongering voices, and then turn it all the way down. And watch the frantic mice lunge at the glass, trying to get to you. Leave it down and get back to your shitty first draft. A writer friend of mine suggests opening the jar and shooting them all in the head. But I think he's a little angry, and I'm sure nothing like this would ever occur to you. So, the ideas of clustering and going deeper. From this comes the shitty first draft. From the shitty first drafts come really wonderful writing. And I just also wanted to, because I spoke with a member in our class today, and I wanted to thank her for reaching out and touching base. And it was a reminder to me to share with all of us. All of us have many demands in our lives, lots going on. What I hope is that however you choose to do this time together, this class, this time together, is the perfect way. There's no wrong way. There is absolutely no wrong way. There is, I would just say, follow whatever feels right, whatever readings feel right, whichever videos, and whatever written expression or artistic expression comes from that will be perfect. We all have a lot of other stresses and demands in our life. I hope that my intention for this class, and my hope, is that this is a place of kind of respite from those, and that this is a place where we can just be and dream and play and explore. And so turn this class into whatever you need for it to be in your life. So anyways, on that note, I will go ahead and say, I'll see you next time. Okay, bye. Oh, wait, one more thing that I was going to say was that I will be including every week some real craft kinds of things about writing as well. And so I just thought I'd throw that out there. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.